less for their political influence and more for their famously strict breeding customs and bizarre physiological quirks. In other words, I was sent to keep things professional with the species whose mating rituals made even the kinkiest Terran customs look tame. And, if all went well, to convince them that Earth wasn't just another loud, oversexed neighbor in the galactic cul-de-sac. What I wasn't prepared for was Esma. She walked into the diplomatic hall like an ethereal vision, silver-gray skin glowing in the soft ambient light, vivid green eyes wide and curious, and a pristine skin-tight white bodysuit zipped just low enough to challenge every principle I was sent here to represent. Karaga weren't known for overt sensuality, but Esma's curves didn't seem to have gotten the memo. I'm a gentleman, but I'm also observant. She approached me slowly, nervously, and panting. "Hello," she said, voice like a breath of warm mist. "You're Philip McGrady, yes?" "I was," I said with a grin. "But I think I've just been reborn in your presence." Her cheeks flushed a slightly deeper gray, and she looked down, clearly flustered. The breathy panting grew louder. My instinct said she was turned on. My brain reminded me this was probably offensive in at least 3 cultures. A Karaga official leaned in and whispered discreetly, "She's mirroring your energy. It's biological. The panting isn't intentional." I stared. Esma, still panting softly, looked ready to disappear into the floor. "So you're saying, the more project, the more she—" I cleared my throat. "Yes," the aide said. "Try not to excite her." "Right," I said, already failing. Over the next hour, we exchanged pleasantries as part of the delegation. She was polite, well-spoken, and charming, once you got past the labored breathing and constant blushing. Every time I so much as looked her in the eye, she let out another soft gasp, like I'd whispered something filthy in her ear. And I hadn't even started flirting yet. Later, as we walked through the glass-domed gardens of the Karaga Capitol Tower, I made my move. "You're different, Esma. You don't just represent your people. You illuminate them. You're their best argument for interspecies diplomacy." Her hands flew to her cheeks. I think that's the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me." "And I haven't even started trying," I said, offering my arm. She hesitated, then took it, her breathing hitching slightly as our skin made contact. "Is it always like this with you?" she asked quietly. "Only when it matters," I said. She looked at me then, really looked. Something passed behind those emerald eyes, something uncertain but awakening. "I've never interacted like this before," she admitted. "Not with anyone. Karaga don't pair for intimacy. Not really." "No dating culture?" I asked. "We don't desire like you do. We have one mating, it's arranged, efficient. Afterward, we stop producing certain hormones. The drive disappears." "Forever?" She nodded. "We call it the silence." I took that in. One time. One chance. And she hadn't even had hers yet. "So what if," I said slowly, "someone like you wanted more than an efficient arrangement?" Her eyes widened. "That would be considered foolish, dangerous even." "And yet," I said, tilting my head toward her, "you're here. With me." Esma's voice was barely a whisper, and I don't feel silent at all. The garden lights shimmered above us as she leaned slightly closer. Not a kiss, not yet. But a moment suspended between breath and surrender. Her body trembled against mine, whether from nerves, excitement, or both, I couldn't tell. But her panting was softer now, intimate. And I knew, without a doubt, that this shy, silver-skinned alien was about to rewrite every rule her species had ever lived by. The next day, Esma didn't meet me in the formal chambers like the others. She was waiting just outside the conference hall, looking like she'd stepped off the cover of Alien Vogue. Sleek white uniform zipped to just above scandal, hair loose over one shoulder, and that same soft silver skin catching the sunlight like brushed metal. Her breathing started the moment I stepped within 5 feet. I grinned. You really shouldn't wait for me like that. I might get ideas. Esma's eyes widened. I wasn't waiting like that. I was just breathing normally. That's your version of normal? I leaned in slightly. No complaints here. She made a tiny squeaking noise and covered her mouth. Philip, she said, her voice muffled, please don't make me mirror you in public. You're the one mirroring, I teased. You're in control, technically. She turned away, muttering something about rude Terran pheromones and cultural sabotage. But she didn't leave. I followed her down a quiet glass corridor that curved out over the city. Below us, hovercrafts and slow-floating commuter orbs shimmered like bubbles in a lazy stream. I researched you last night, Esma said without looking at me. Your diplomatic record. You're notorious. Notorious is a strong word. I prefer highly effective with an optional after-dinner drink. You've seduced planetary governors. Allegedly. She stopped walking. Why me? I stepped in front of her. Because you're unlike anyone I've met. Because you make me want to throw out every line and actually mean what I say. Because when you pant like that, I forget my name. Esma looked down at her hands, which were trembling slightly. This isn't supposed to happen. We don't feel these things. Not like this. Is it bad? I asked. What's your feeling? No, she admitted softly. It's confusing, but not bad. We stood there for a moment, the soft hum of the city below filling the silence. Her fingers brushed mine. I didn't pull away. I've never felt desire before, she said, and certainly not like this. It's overwhelming. It changes everything. You don't have to decide anything now, I said. But if you want to explore this, I'd be honored. She bit her lip. Do you know what it means? If I choose you? I nodded. You get one chance. Yes. One. We're genetically designed for a single reproductive act. Afterward, our bodies change. The system shuts down. The drive fades. For most, that's enough. But not for you. I want to know what it's supposed to feel like, she said quietly. Not just function. I want the pleasure, too. There it was. Koraga biology wasn't built for pleasure. Their mating was efficient, clinical. Emotional bonding was irrelevant. But Esma, she wanted something more. Something human. If I do this with you, she whispered, stepping closer, it won't just be mating. I want to feel everything. I want to remember it. I brushed her hair back gently, feeling her shiver beneath my fingertips. Then let's make it unforgettable. She exhaled a soft, aroused-sounding breath that might have shattered glass if we were any closer. Tonight, she said, come to my quarters after the council session ends. No protocols, no observers. My heart thudded like a bass drum. I'll be there, wearing my finest towel. She laughed. Her first real laugh. Musical and uncertain, but real. You really are outrageous. Just wait until I get started. We stood there a moment longer, silent but brimming with anticipation. As I walked away, I didn't look back. I didn't need to. I knew she was watching. I could hear it in every soft, panting breath. I stood outside her door at precisely the time she'd said. No guards, no aides. Just a soft blue light above the entry pad and a faint rhythmic hum behind the walls, like a heartbeat too big for one body. The door slid open before I touched it. She was waiting inside, barefoot, wrapped in some kind of silky ivory robe that clung to her curves like light itself. Her skin shimmered in the room's dim amber glow, her green eyes softer now, yet burning with something bold beneath the nerves. She was still breathing like that, gentle, needy, aroused by proximity alone. Are you sure? I asked. No, she said honestly. But I want to be. She stepped forward and took my hand. It was trembling. Koraga, don't do this, she said. We don't kiss. We don't touch like this. It's too dangerous. For your biology? For our hearts. I smiled, lowering my voice. We humans are pretty reckless with those. I noticed, she whispered. We stood there for a moment, and then slowly she reached for the collar of her robe. The garment slid off like mist, pooling at her feet. She stood fully nude in front of me, unashamed but vulnerable, beautiful in ways that had nothing to do with anatomy. I undressed too, slowly, letting her see, letting her decide when it was too much. But she didn't stop me. Her breathing deepened as I stepped close. My hands slid along her arms, down her waist, reverent. Her body was warm, delicate, lightly trembling under every fingertip. "You're sure?" I asked again. Her answer was a kiss, tentative at first. Learning, but hungry too. I felt the moment her body shifted, when hesitation gave way to heat. The way she moaned, low and breathy, startled even her. "I didn't know I could feel like this," she gasped. "You haven't even started." I led her to the bed, curved and low to the floor, Koraga style, the surface adjusting to our bodies as we lay down together. She was already flushed and panting in ways that had nothing to do with mirroring anymore. My hands and mouth moved with care and confidence, teasing her into sensations I knew her species had never been allowed to explore. She writhed beneath me, whispering things in Korrigan that I didn't understand but didn't need to. Her body knew, and that was enough. When we finally joined, fully, deeply, she let out a cry that was half ecstasy, half disbelief. Her body arched, and she gripped me like the world was ending. And in a way, it was. Because in that moment, she broke every rule of her species. Esma climaxed hard, again and again, shaking and gasping and laughing through tears she didn't understand. Koraga weren't supposed to enjoy it. They weren't supposed to be capable of multiple orgasms, of prolonged pleasure. But her body had rewritten the script. With me. Afterward, she curled against my chest, still trembling. Her hand rested over her abdomen, where, if Korrigan biology held true, fertilization had already taken place. But that wasn't what she was focused on. "It didn't stop," she whispered. "What didn't?" "The feeling. It's still here. The hormones should be shutting down. But they're not. I still want you." I stroked her hair. "Maybe the rules don't apply to us." She laughed softly. "That sounds very human. And you don't sound very Koraga anymore." She looked up at me. "What if this is the first time one of us ever really mated? Then you just made history." Esma kissed me again, slower this time, deeper, not out of curiosity or instinct, but out of desire. And for the first time in her life, she didn't breathe because of my energy. She breathed for her own. The morning after I expected ceremony, Korrigan custom dictated silence after mating. The female was to retreat, meditate, and emerge transformed, her purpose biologically fulfilled. It was the only moment in their lives considered sacred. But Esma didn't retreat. She was still wrapped in the bedsheet, curled beside me on the wide, curved bed. Her fingers trailed aimlessly along my chest, and when I stirred, she kissed my jaw, unhurried and warm. "Still here?" I asked, voice low with sleep. She nodded. "I don't want to disappear into ritual. I want to stay awake for this." "That might start a few diplomatic incidents." She laughed softly, the sound as new and miraculous as it had been the first time. "Let them protest. Let them revise their doctrines." Her hand moved down, resting on her stomach again, but not in the same solemn way she had last night. "It's strange," she whispered. "I was supposed to become different. They say we become calm, passive, like a flame burning down to ash. And I feel more alive." She looked at me. "I want to burn hotter." We lay together a little longer, her head on my chest, the silence between us now full of meaning. Then Esma sat up, her expression calm but lit from within. "I have to tell them," she said. "You don't have to. I want to." She turned to face me, naked but unafraid. "This changes everything. If we're compatible, if our bodies don't shut down after mating, then maybe our people don't have to live with the chains we've accepted for centuries." She stood and began to dress. not with ceremony, but with purpose. There was something different in her posture now. She moved like a woman unburdened. "I need to speak to the council. Alone." I nodded. "I'll wait." So I followed her as far as I could, to the doors of the great chamber hall, the curved structure glowing under the pale sky. She gave my hand a squeeze, then stepped inside. The doors closed behind her with a deep, echoing finality. I waited. Minutes turned into hours. I paced the long corridor, watched aides come and go, caught glimpses of muted conversation through glass partitions. But I didn't leave. I stayed until the doors finally opened and Esma stepped out, still composed, her eyes bright. "Well?" I asked. She smiled, slow, radiant, almost disbelieving. "They were in awe," she said, shocked but not angry. "They asked questions, a lot of them. And they listened." I moved closer. "And?" She took my hand again, holding it like it meant something sacred. "They're considering it. What it means for our people, for our future. They've never seen proof that we could be more than a one-time species. They thought it was biology, but maybe it was just limits we accepted too easily." I exhaled, smiling with her. "You may have just cracked the universe open." Esma leaned into me, resting her head against my chest. We did. Later, in the shuttle back to my station quarters, I watched her curl beside me, exhausted and satisfied in a way that defied every ancient decree. "You know," I said, stroking her hair, "this means your species might want to reevaluate some policies." "They'll resist," she whispered. "But there will be others like me now. Curious. Open." I grinned. "You're a revolution in a white jumpsuit." "And you," she murmured sleepily, "are the first and last lover I'll ever need." Her breathing deepened, not from mirroring, but from peace. Outside the shuttle window, the stars spun slowly past, and in my arms the woman who broke her biology held me like she was never letting go. Karaga's moons hung low over the horizon, their pale light casting silver across the curved windows of our shared quarters. Esma stood quietly by the glass, one hand resting over the gentle swell of her stomach. Not dramatic yet, but unmistakable. "I can feel them," she whispered. "Not just movement, energy, like a spark humming inside me." I came up behind her, wrapping my arms around her waist and resting my chin on her shoulder. She leaned back into me without hesitation. "The first Corrigan human child," I said softly. She smiled. "First, and maybe not the last." It still stunned her sometimes, that her body hadn't shut down, that she hadn't faded into passivity like every Corrigan mother before her. Instead, she was more alive than ever, curious, passionate, insatiably driven. "Do you think they'll be like you?" she asked. "Charming, reckless, irreverent." "I hope they're like you, brave, brilliant, willing to break the rules for the right reasons." She chuckled, and I felt it echo in my chest. The council had gone quiet after their initial reaction, but change was coming. Slowly, yes, but undeniably. Esma had given them proof that their biology wasn't a cage. That choice could be real. That love didn't have to be rationed to one fleeting act. She was more than the mother of a new child. She was the beginning of a new age. Outside, a sunrise crept across the alien skyline, pale gold melting into lavender. "Philip," she murmured. "Yeah?" She turned in my arms, her eyes shining. "Thank you. For being the first, and for never letting it be the last." I kissed her, and as the light rose around us, the future no longer felt like uncharted space. It felt like home.